Hey guys, it's 8th Deadly Sin here. I'm going to be doing the Champion Select analysis for the first day of the LCK Spring Split 2016. The two games that were featured were all best of threes. First versus CJ Entis versus the SKT T1 team, defending world champs now. Also, the second game was Africa, the new team versus KT Rolster. I'm going to be starting with SKT, moving on to the game, doing a game-by-game analysis of solely Champion Select. This is my first video. Hope you guys are ready, and let's go. Now, first, I've done the ordering of all the picks and bans. Bans in white at the bottom, and obviously picks in their color coordinated and labeled positions as they were chosen in the game. Now, let's start with bans. First, the first ban CJ Antis did was Rise, and we can see obviously that's a pretty good ban against SKT. We all know Faker's a god on Rise currently. No one's been shown to shut him down. There's really no non-favorable matchup that Faker can't at least sit there and farm out of, and he's proven he can get the plays and outplays before Rise even vamps up to that super late game. So a very first safe ban of the first game of 2016 for LCK. The second ban coming from SKT side is going to be Fiora. Now, obviously, top lane is still decently strong, not as strong as the Juggernaut meta of Worlds, but Fiora itself is still a strong pick to choose. Now, I just kind of, this ban makes me wonder whether or not Duke can play a strong Fiora, and if he's not comfortable, which is why they ban it out. But either way, if it's based on the team comp that they're aiming for in this first game, or Duke's ability to play Fiora or comfortability on Fiora, that's the second ban. The next ban, third ban, coming from CJ Antis is going to be Gangplank. Again, not too much supplies there. I don't know if Antara is a great Gangplank player, but regardless, very strong in this meta. Don't really want to give it up. Probably more priority picks that they want to get to rather than having to first pick that Gangplank. Safe to get rid of it. The next ban from SKT again is another top lane ban with Lissandra. Now, while Lissandra can be flex middle, it's mostly being played in the top lane, especially on the current two patches. Remember, this game and all games played in LCK during the first day were played on 5.24, so keep that in mind that the 6.1 shifts and application of those patch notes aren't in effect. Lissandra still strong on both of those patch. Again, kind of makes me wonder whether or not Duke is comfortable on these champions or if he can play these champions, which is why they just want to deny CJ Entis, the Lissandra, and the Fiora. Either way, still a solid ban. Obviously not going to affect the team comp that they end up going with, but let's get into the next one. Now, the next ban, as I've already mentioned, is pretty much a byproduct of the fact that they're not playing on 6.1, Misfortune. Now, of course, Misfortune is being banned. It's almost a priority first pick because of how OP it is coming out of the preseason patch before 6.1's nerfs to her rain down ability, her E. So, still very strong. Obviously, don't want to give it up and pretty much don't want to go for it in this game. Decide to get rid of it. Safe call by them. SKT's final ban and final ban in this game is going to be Lulu. Again, pretty good. Lulu is very strong on this patch, still very strong on 6.1 as well, but seeing how they're playing on 5.24, the Frost Queen's Claim are still a very OP item, obviously, and Lulu with her various abilities and the short time that these games have been historically running, especially on this patch, very strong, want to get rid of it. Obviously, don't feel like they're going to be using it in their team comp, want to take that crucial cornerstone of those protect comps down for CJ. Now, let's get into the ban, and let's get into the pick order, sorry about that. Now, first pick in this game is coming from CJ Anta's blue side is Kindred. Now, obviously, this Kindred is going to be going jungle, which it did. No surprise there. Obviously provides a lot of sustain and the nice kind of disengage slash safety of the ult, which is pretty much the real reason you play Kindred, as well as the damage and sustain in the jungle. So, an 80 carry in the jungle obviously provides other things, and I'll get into that why I analyze the other more tankier options that they choose for the other lanes because of Kindred being in the game and that dynamic there. But let's get into the second drafting phase. Second drafting phase, SKT pick up Tom Kench and Callista for Bang. Now, the Tom Kench at this point can be flexed for either support or top, but I already have the feeling, and I'm sure CJ probably did, that it's going to be going top lane. Tom Kench top lane, very good, very strong on this patch. His ability to not only CC slow and take people out of team fights, but its ability to protect carries while still leaving the utility of the support position open for other disengage and other utility that you can acquire with main role supports in that role while still keeping the power of Tom Kench. Very good. Obviously, Devour in lane, a nice strong tool. And Callista speaks for herself. Still a beast, still good. Other options on the table, but since you're picking it up, it's nice and safe, especially with the protection of Tom Kench, regardless if it goes top or support at this time. Now, the third drafting phase coming from CJ. CJ responds by picking up the Alistar and Twisted Fate. Now, the Alistar pickup is significant for two reasons. Obviously, Alistar is still a tier 1 support coming into this meta, even on these patches, and 6.1 when they eventually will play on that tomorrow, I'm guessing. So, when we look at this, Alistar synergizes very well with Callista, especially with the ability to launch Alistar at the incoming team, and that disengage is huge, and they still don't know if Tom Kench is going top or not, so might as well take away that support option. Still provides a lot of disengage and engage with the various flash pulverize and such that you can get. So really strong support choice, nothing real wrong with that draft. Again, Twisted Fate, not much I have to say here. Still a very strong laner, very control based. You have the global engage factor of a global gold card that you have, as well as that CC, and you have decent wave clear with his Q, and overall a strong safe pick to be blind picking into the mid lane for CJ. Now, the fourth drafting phase coming out of SKT, we have Faker picking up the Corki, and we have Bengi picking up Rek'Sai. Now, Rek'Sai is a very good jungler. I would still rank her in the top tier of junglers. You know, very solid all around, becomes tanky in the late game, you know, has nice CC and the ability to gank from the fog with the tunnel. So it's still a very solid pick. Against Kindred, he has the ability to do a lot more invading if he wants to and disrupt the jungle path of the Kindred, try to shut the Kindred down early before it gets to level 6, or just take away that XP and try to starve the Kindred, forcing ganks and as well as counter ganking. So very strong, obviously, not much to say about the jungle pick. Now, the mid Corki kind of already goes to what SKT wants to do with their team comp, even coming out of their second draft phase that they've had. So we can see now that it's going to be a dual 80 carry comp coming from SKT. Now, Corki offers a lot of mixed damage, especially with AP, and he has great kind of engage slash escape with the package. So we can see Faker is going to have the ability to roam just as much as the TF and have that presence when he has the package up, as well as output poke damage similar to the TF. So essentially mirroring that type of style, the only thing different is the Corki lacks CC, but what he makes up for that is in kind of pure burst damage and sustain in the mid lane. So a very strong pick for mid lane, obviously. Moving on to the next drafting phase. So the next drafting phase, we're going to finalize the team comp for CJ Entis. We pick up the Ashe for Kramer, and we pick up Maokai for Antara. So the Maokai pick, a bit strange, but then again, now this is where I'm getting into why a Maokai pick or another tank like that would be coming out, especially with the Kindred. So when we see a Kindred, we're essentially having an ADC in the jungle, meaning you're going to have a bit of a beefier front line to be able to manage and sustain actual team fighting, which is what they want to do at this point. Essentially, what CJ has constructed here is a classic pick comp. You have Alistar to kind of protect Ashe during laning phase, as well as get picks and CC. We have the Ashe ult, which is the global CC that can be also combined with the TF ult. So you have two global engages that you can use. You have TF also having teleport. So we have a lot of options here. The Maokai gives a lot of armor, has that area of effect with his ultimate, also has CC with the W, as well as some good sustain. Classic tank we've seen throughout how many seasons of League of Legends. Very good. Personally, I would have not chose Maokai just from the kind of lack of damage that you're going to have, especially. And seeing how he's going into Tom Kench, I don't really find Maokai to necessarily be a losing matchup, but it's not necessarily the greatest, especially with the champions that you have on the board. What I would have picked is seeing how Trundle has gone ignored throughout this entire game. If I was CJ, I would have picked up Trundle because you still have the beefiness and the tankiness of a Maokai, not only from tank items and like Black Cleaver, as well as picking up health stats and various beefing factors of just playing Trundle regularly, but Trundle also brings innate damage, especially since we're playing before his Q was nerfed for towers, so he has the ability to split push effectively and has that extra damage, as well as a low cooldown on his ult and all the other effects that are not happening because they are still playing on 5.24, while also getting the innate takiness that you have and stealing stats away from, say, a Tom Kench or a Rek'Sai, seeing how those are the two tanks that are revealed on SKT's side. So I think CJ really missed a crucial opportunity that wouldn't really have changed the goal of their team comp, but probably could have made it better, offered more engage, more CC, while Trundle doesn't have the necessarily snare that Maokai has with the kit that they currently have in their team. I don't see why they would have needed that anyways. But let's get into the last pick of this game. That's going to be the Thresh from SKT. Now, I was really surprised that was a Thresh. True, Thresh offers a lot of disengage, especially seeing how there's going to be Ash Arrows and gold cards and headbutts coming all around here, as well as the ability to hop people out quickly from a Kindred ult where they've been trapped or anywhere. So the disengage factor of the Lantern, possible flaying back of a Maokai and Root or Alistar, probably really good for laning phase for Bang to be able to disengage that headbutt engage with the Flay, but I would have preferred a Trundle. Trundle would have been able to have the same effect in lane with the pillar being able to block those headbutts, but also would have been able to steal the stats of the Maokai in those team fights, steal the stats of the Alistar in those team fights, and offer that damage and just balls deep factor that Trundle does. But overall, not a bad pick for them. Pretty good team comp. I'm not going to get into how these games played out or how any of this done. I'm just doing pure champ select analysis straight from the beginning of these games. So, minding that, let's go to game two. So game two here, obviously SKT is now blue side, CG Entis is now red side. Let's begin into the bans. For context, SKT did win the first game, so this is CG Entis's last chance to continue the series, to take it to 3 games, or to lose 2-0. So a bit more pressure on them. Are they going to choose a safer route? We'll see what they did here as we go through this. Let's go bans. Now, coming out from SKT, all the same bans, which kind of confirms my theory that they are uncomfortable with using Fiora and Lissandra with Duke. Maybe he's not ready to do that. Duke probably hasn't picked up Lulu yet, or if he hasn't, they don't want to use it, and they just don't want to use a Lulu team comp, which is kind of what they're not going for. They're doing a lot more zone control, especially coming out from the first team comp to this team comp. A lot of zone control play, as well as like sustaining control damage. So Lulu really doesn't fit into that picture. Faker's played Lulu, obviously, so get rid of it. Take those options away from CJ Entis rather than leave them on the board. There's really no OP picks that they seem to fear, such as the MF or any of those OP preseason picks left open. So it seems they're very much prepared to handle anything CJ throws at them. Now going on CJ side, bans, pretty much the same bans here. Rise I've already explained, Gangplank I've already explained. The Tom Kench comes in because Duke was very effective on the Tom Kench. Honestly, probably a good ban to come up. The MF, they didn't ban out thinking that they might not go for it, but as we can get into the first drafting phase, completely proven wrong. SKT realizes how OP MF is on this patch, since this will be the only time that they will be able to play the pre-nerfed MF. They locked that in right away for Bang. Very strong. Obviously a huge amount of area damage and control with the ultimate, as well as, you know, zone control with the E, and the damage that that provides on this patch, combined with Thunder Lords and that ability, as well as the mobility from the passive and the passive love tap damage. Ultimately insane. Very good pick coming right out. And it doesn't give too much away about what they would be aiming for a team comp, obviously. Moving to the second drafting phase, we have CJ Entis drafting Alistar, same thing that they went for, and Kindred, same thing. So they obviously feel very comfortable on these champions. While the Kindred didn't have the best of showing in the game, it was more not because of ganks, but jungle pathing in general. I would say it's still a good pick. Still, you know, really powerful. Offers that protection and that ulti for team fights that can, you know, change those close ones. Really allow for better positioning and give you that extra couple seconds in those team fights if you need to kind of paralyze, put a stasis on the damage, and really try to set something up, especially for cooldowns waiting for more CC to come up. Alistar, I've already explained, very good in lane, very good tier 1 support for obvious reasons. Let's not over analyze that pick and move on to the next drafting phase. So the next drafting phase, we have SKT pick up Elise and Gnar. Now, especially seeing how what's only been picked is a jungle and support, obviously it's a good practice to counter with the jungle pick, not to give away or blind pick into anything unnecessarily, while you see Elise very strong in the jungle, similar to a Rek'Sai, but offers AP damage, a bit more damage than Rek'Sai, still has that tankiness, but a bit more CC and ranged CC at that with the Cocoon, and some engage with the repel and other factors. So very good jungle pick, very standard, very meta. Now the Gnar pick for Duke, obviously Duke has played a lot of Gnar. Gnar has been very common in the top lane, a really good in lane, pretty much against anybody, the ability to kite melees and trade with range. So either way, they are fully prepared for whatever comes in the top lane. And at this point, all you have is MF, Elise, and Gnar. You really have nothing that gives away the innate purpose of their team comp at this point. So very safe, very meta picks that don't give away what their goals are in this game yet. They can evolve this into anything at this point, making CJ Entis really need to question their next couple picks to really how they want to form their team comp rather than necessarily respond to SKT. So now going into the fourth ban phase, CJ picks up the Maokai again and picks up Lucian. First, let's talk about the ADC pick. Lucian, yes, very good, very strong. Piercing Light does damage, combined with either Thunder procs or whatever you want to go on, is very strong in the lane. Almost, have to deal with that misfortune damage, which is going to be hard on anyone. So nice that you can have a Lucian that can constantly push up those waves with Piercing Lights, Cullings, the wave clear, you have all that. A decent pick against misfortune, not too many matchups that I would rather have in that lane with misfortune, coupled with the Alistar, kind of gives them the advantage. Well, not the advantage now because we don't know their support, but it gives them a decent, heading into this lane rather than just getting wrecked by misfortune. Now, the Maokai pick, I guess, is fine. I really don't understand it at this point. I would still say take away the Trundle now. Like, if Untara cannot play top lane Trundle, that's something he's going to need to pick up. Trundle is so strong right now. Now coming into 6.1, he's going to be less strong, but still has all those innate characteristics that make him really good, especially against people like Gnar or anything. Because if he could just farm his way to safety through the laning phase against Duke on Gnar, you could have so much ability to take away the stats from Gnar, take away the stats from Elise, do a lot of damage in zone control with the pillar and Q, as well as have the ability to split push. I really don't see what this Maokai is doing. Yes, it provides a bit of CC. Yes, it's a tank in front line. Again, coupled with the Kindred, you need that tanky front line, but I still think that can be accomplished with the Trundle. Don't know why they took it away here. Now, moving into the next drafting phase for SKT, we can see my prayers have finally been answered. SKT drafts Trundle as support. Now this is just a really good engage, provides amazing zone control, completely meshes with their team comp, which I'll analyze at the end of all these drafts. And then obviously we have the Victor coming out from Faker, obviously a Season 5 staple. We've seen what he can do on Victor, great zone control, great pushing ability, and the auto-attacking of turrets. Also, still coming into this, he hasn't been nerfed, he hasn't been really affected. Seeing how they don't know what CJ is going to be selecting for the mid lane, a very safe pick that he knows how to play and kind of cements what they're doing with their team comp. And I'll get into that after we go to the last pick. Now, the last pick is going to be LeBlanc for CJ Entis. I like what they're trying to do here. So essentially, they have a pretty standard not even really meta, but a decent comp, like a standard almost solo QE comp where you have an assassin mid, a kind of a classic bot lane with really tier 1 ADCs, and then we have mostly, I wouldn't qualify my Maokai as a tier 1, but tank top and damage jungler when Kindred. So this LeBlanc's job, especially with Thunderlords, is going to be exploding whoever, and specifically exploding the Misfortune, exploding the Victor, and maybe even exploding the Trundle if you get a pick. So the LeBlanc's job is going to be assassinating, getting those picks, opening up the map for all of their other CJ members to be able to four-man push turrets, have a split pushing Maokai if that's also a route that they want to go, or have Lucian split down on the bottom while opening up the map for him by eliminating certain carry members. And LeBlanc is going to be doing a lot of damage, so I wouldn't doubt if LeBlanc gets fed in the laning phase, the ability to blow up Bengi, blow up Duke, even with all those resists in place. She just does so much damage. There's no real harm for her laning against Victor. It's not going to be that difficult of a lane. She doesn't necessarily lose outright, and neither does Victor, so she can come out of the laning phase even, or even ahead if she gets the kill on the Faker, and then just kind of explode all over the map regardless if that happens. Now let's go into the team comps of this. So SKT has constructed another beautiful zone control team comp. So what we can see is we're going to have the ulti and E from Misfortune covering a huge amount of area, doing huge amounts of damage. So, sounding like Freak there, but that's just how it's going to be. You have Bengi offering a bit of AoE with the W Spider, also the, CC of the Cocoon, very good for, starting an engage. Obviously, just kind of a classic thing that meshes with it very well. The Gnar, again, very good. The Gnar ultimate is going to come in clutch here. Any close corridors or any very cramped areas, Baron Pit, Dragon Pit, enemy jungle, their jungle, going to be an amazing area to initiate these team fights and try to catch CJ out of position with the ability to CC them against all those walls. Then comes in Victor on with Faker. So Victor, obviously, huge amounts of AoE damage. That's pretty much the theme of this team comps. We have the Gravity Well being able to block off more areas and tight corridors in the jungle, Baron Pit, Dragon Pit area, anywhere on the map like that. The ability to zone with the ulti and the Gravity Well, as well as to get more CC layered on top, especially if you're going to say have Gnar ultimate, and then you can put a Gravity Well on them as well. Also coupled with the Trundle pillar and Gravity Well pretty much make it so CJ cannot engage if SKT decides to take that dragon, take that Baron, creates so many obstacles, as well as the Trundle pillar assisting in Gnar getting those stuns off his ulti. Regardless if there is terrain there, he can position it so he can stun up a few members on the pillar or throw them directly into a place Gravity Well, and then just have the AoE damage do the work. So that's it for the SKT versus CJ Entus games. I'll be doing a video on the KT and Africa games. You can check that out on my channel. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.